Good morning. I'd like to share with you a dream that I had. A very important time during what they call a process of awakening into some sort of enlightened, pure consciousness state. Now, of course, like most dreams, when you dream, you don't know if you're the dreamer or you're the one participating in a dream. There's not a mind that can make real, what we call, mental breakups, you see, because the mind of the dreamer is such a pure mind. It doesn't see beginnings and ends and logical methods or ways of dreaming. So I don't know if I was the dreamer or the one in the dream, or both. And of course, there's no words. There's just something that the mind in its pure state goes beyond the logistics of life and the languages, and there's a absolute spontaneous meaning. The dream may go on for, actually there's no time, is there, in a dream? You don't know how long you've been dreaming for because there's no clock beside you. You don't know what time you started, what time you finished. So it could be a 1 second dream in our time world, or it could be an hour, a 4-hour dream, you know. So we can only go by the interpretation of what the mind makes of the dream when you wake up in the morning. You know, the logical mind, the ego mind, the mind of beginnings and ends, the mind of what we call normality, or the mind of concepts and ideas. But it's a very simple dream. And it was a real crucial point, because when you're experiencing, when your soul or your spirit is experiencing a delusion, a dissolution of your what we call our necessary mind, or dependent mind. Everything is dependent on our mind, you see. Otherwise, we fall into some sort of, this is another idea, of course, we fall into some sort of Alzheimer or dementia or, you know, amnesia state. Yeah. And we're all in a amnesia state. It's just that something wants to come in and make something logical about it, make something sensible about it, make something as if we're going in a direction about it. But we're really directionless. In this dream, when you actually dream, you realize that there's no direction, there's no beginning, there's no end. Not very often do we have a dream where there's much clarity. Not about the story behind it. Again, it's a kind of mishmash of stuff, but there's an instant meaning about it, you see. And I want to share that with you, an interpreted way of how the dream unfolded once you were awake, you see. And it's the moment of you're waking from the dream, that deep sleep state, or in deep sleep, that is the most crucial moment in your whole history. So here's the dream. So I will take ownership of being a factor in the dream. So I will be the sun, you see. And this is how the dream unfolded. I walked up to my father, or this figure, and I had been hunting, and I found no food. There was no food. There was nothing to be. I took back nothing, and I found myself sitting in front of this father-like figure. And this father-like figure says, I said to the father-like figure, I'm sorry, I failed, you know, I didn't come up with some food, you know. And this father-like figure, who called himself what we would call a shaman, said, son, and he smiled. He said, what is the problem? I said, well, we have no food. he said, is that a problem? I said, well, we have to eat. And he said, who is it that has to eat? What is it that has to eat? And I said, my body has to eat. We have to eat to stay alive. He said, before the food comes, what is taking place? Before the idea that the food did not come, what is taking place right now? I said, I'm telling you, we're discussing not having food. He says, yes. So what do we learn from this? I said, we can go back tomorrow maybe. We're not starving. We can go back tomorrow. Trust. That's what I'm learning, Father. Yes. But what is the biggest learning? I said, I don't know. He says, right now, we are sitting and we are able to understand that there's no food. We are fortunate to know that there's no food. Regardless of the food being here or not, we are fortunate to know that without the food, we may go hungry. He then continued to say, we're also fortunate to know that in this moment right now, we have a mind that can identify with what food is. We are fortunate to know that we are able to be alive, to understand that there's no food. We're fortunate to be here in this moment. It appears to the mind or appears to the belly of the body. That's not a very tasty and acceptable way to look at life. But the body right now is breathing. The body right now is fortunate to be breathing. The body right now is fortunate to understand that without food, it cannot survive. The body is fortunate to know that when food comes, it will celebrate, it will rejoice, it will live on. And we are fortunate here to be able to discuss this matter, son. We are so fortunate. The mind puts in negatives and positives. And that's a mind that keeps you active, keeps you hunting, keeps you trying, changing. But that mind will die, you son. That mind will die. But the fortune will never die. The being here as a living form, a living being, will never die. While we are breathing, we are communicating. While we are communicating, we are sharing. While we are sharing, we are love. We are one. Our elders on the other side, the dark side, who have passed over into the darkness, they don't know. They have no fortune about knowing what food is or whether food is essential or not to them. But they are also fortunate to know that we continue with the good fortune of being alive, being here, being free. The mind will capture you and take you a prisoner, but you are beyond this mind, son. You are beyond what the mind says about this and that. You are the truth, son. This moment is the truth. And the truth is not starving, and the truth is not hungry, and the truth is not body. But yet it appears in this moment through us. Remember the fortune of life, son. The fortune of life is breath. The fortune of life is being here. Wake up every morning and realize I am fortunate to be here, to be alive, to be present, to be me. I woke up not remembering the dream until many days after. But I woke up that morning. I now have a mind, you see. The mind of coming and going, which we call ego, is essential for the moments of grasping that true moment, that genuine, real moments. I woke up that morning and I looked out the window and I remember I couldn't make head nor tail of what was going on. The sun was streaming through the curtains. I peeked through the curtains and I couldn't define what was what. The dew on the grass, and the dew on the cars, and the dew on the houses, and the sun creating this sparkling, rippling effect was incredible and whole. I don't remember what I said, but I'm pretty sure I said how fortunate I am to see this, to experience this, to be alive, to be present, to be me.